So, all right, back to where we were. I needed a break from this nonsense. Try to do this. Oh, and they blocked. Oh, this is the woman who was like, you didn't answer my question.
People who portray themselves as the non-systemic opposition. I think I've responded to your CNN colleagues. But I think these are the rules of the game, so I have to repeat it when I repeat it to your question. Okay, fine by me, I can do it. The United States has a law that spells out that the United States will support specific entities and organizations in Russia. At the same time, the Russian Federation was labeled as an adversary. They went on the record and said publicly that they will stymie the development of Russia. It begs the question, what kind of organizations the United States and the West will be supporting and pay them in, if we are an adversary? It's quite clear that, like the United States back in the 30s, we've labeled them as foreign agents, but we haven't banned them. I mean, they can operate, all right. If you're labeled...
Look, if you put ambassadors in our country and we put spies in yours, basically samey.
As a foreign agent, that does not preclude you from operating in the country. Well, if it's an extremist organization, that's a whole new story, whole different story. The organization is in question publicly has called for riots and public disorder. It has openly...
But I don't know enough Russian to know if the word for riot and the word for protest are the same.
Instructed people on how to make Molotov cocktails, so to use them against the law enforcement. It called.
And are there fewer sad things in this world that somehow you don't think Russians know how to make a Molotov cocktail? Honestly, we teach in grade school. In Mother Russia, Molotov throws you.
Called for the participation of underage person in riots. America has just recently went through...
And we have a law that the only people allowed to riot legally are people 98 and above.
Well, grievous chain of events after a certain African-American individual was killed, and an entire movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, appeared. I'm not going to go into details.
I'm just going to make it the same but awful. But how dare you tell us when a cop is killed and your people rise up? And you know, if that was here, we would just put those people down.
Spare you them. But we've seen pogroms. We've seen, you know, looting and violations and riots. We sympathize with the Americans, but we do not want for the same thing to happen on the Russian soil, and we'll do...
Yeah, right. So what we do is we take our George Floyds and we put them in prison, and then we don't feed them, and then they get really hungry, and then they give them food that has poison in it. That way it hasn't happened on the street.
Do anything possible to prevent this. And it's not about me fearing anything. If you want to think that, can you please give the mic?
You didn't answer my question. We've like this lady asked you, like, how does anybody trust you when you when you like Alexei Navalny is going to die in jail?
All right, about my opponents being jailed or imprisoned. People went into US Congress with political demands. 400 people are now facing criminal charges.
Right.
They are...
Yeah, they broke into the Capitol, which is basically the same, if you think about it, as putting out a newsletter and eating a salad. So Alexei, and they're the same people.
Facing prison terms of up to 20 or maybe 25 years. They are called homegrown terrorists. They are...
Yeah, but Alexei Navalny and his supporters didn't beat cops, didn't blind one, didn't have one's thumb torn off, didn't tase one.
Being accused of many other things. 70 people were arrested right there on the spot. 30 of them are still arrested. On what grounds? Not quite clear.
On what ground? Yeah, trespassing, for starters. Violent insurrection has a lot. I mean, there's a lot of charges in there. You know, you could see there's video of them beating cops with Blue Lives Matter flags. If it's not quite clear, maybe it's because your Russian TV set is shit, man.
I mean, none of the official authorities from the states are informing us about it, so we don't know that. One of the participants, a woman, was shot dead on the spot. She was not threatening with, with arms or anything.
Sorry, I'm just adding those because I'm bored.
Why am I bringing this up? Many people.
Yeah, why are you bringing it up? So Ashley Babbitt, who was part of a large group that had built a gallows and was screaming, "Hang Mike Pence," breaking through a door that was barricaded with furniture while members of Congress were being moved to safety. She was the first person to breach it through. Basically the same thing as getting poisoned, going to Germany, and taking a flight back.
People are facing the same things as we do. And I am stressing this. We are sympathizing.
Yeah, no. Alexei Navalny was not in the process of breaching a capitol
With the United States, but we do not want the same thing repeating here. A couple more questions, please.
Couple more questions where I can shit on democracy and pretend that what happens in democracy is worse than what happens in Russia. I mean, the greatest thing about Russian gun violence is one phone call, it stays off TV.
Good day, Dmitry Laru, Izvestia newspaper. Did you manage to agree with the U.S. side on the return of certain Russian citizens that are jailed in U.S. prisons? And if it is the case, when could it happen? Indeed, we brought this up, and President Biden brought this up with regard to U.S. citizens that are currently in Russian prisons, and we discussed this. There could be some ground for compromise. Russian Foreign Ministry and the U.S.
Yes, we have 2 of their people. They have 19 of ours. I think that's a fair trade.
State Department will work in this direction. Russia TV channel, the recapping question. Good day, Mikhail Antonov, Russia 1 TV channel. You said that you discussed trade with President Biden. Maybe that's one of the positive points.
Yeah, sure. Trade with Russia. You know, all those great Russian toasters and washing machines and flat screens. And if you haven't tried one of the Russian phones, I mean, come on, man.
Business communities seek cooperation from both sides. What are the prospects for cooperation? Well, that doesn't depend on us, but rather on the U.S. side. We do not impose any restrictions. I believe that after imposing
because we can't afford to
certain restrictions in economy, the U.S. lost as much as Russia. Indeed, it somehow affected our development to a certain extent. And to a certain extent,
Yeah, American tariffs, because you were murdering people worldwide, are the reasons your economy didn't grow. It's our fault. If we'd have just been able to look past that.
And the U.S. implemented their goal of deterring Russia and in its development, but there's nothing.
Yes, it is true, chat room. Putin does look like RoboCop without his helmet a little bit.
Quite important.
But the claymation version.
Here. Second thing, the importance and the interest of the U.S. business community. The U.S. had the biggest delegation at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, 200 persons. As for restrictions...
Oh, when was that? What group of people showed up for that thing?
Against the U.S. companies, some U.S. companies lost in Russia, and they gave this business to their rivals. What for? It's pointless, but they still...
Yeah, Americans went, I'm not going to fucking build anything here or invest money here. It'll just go up this dude's nose.
Still have losses. Our trade with the US amounted to some 28 billion USD, but in the first quarter of this year, it grew by 16%. I believe that if this trend persists, it will benefit everybody.
Yes.
And we talked
clearly.
about this.
Yeah, $28 billion. Chicken shit money. Seriously. We have like a $27 trillion economy. We got to put up with all this bullshit from these assholes for $28 billion? Are you kidding me? Why? For what? It's all, the only thing that's happening as far as investment worldwide in Russia is real estate, like towers for assholes like Donald Trump to, have somebody pee on the beds, or oil and gas pipelines. What else? What? Aerospace? Are you going to get in a Russian plane anytime soon? Get out of here. Yeah, weapons, right.
You know what? I'll have a couple of questions from this side and a couple of questions on the other side. Yeah, a lady. Please give the floor to the lady. She will rock my world here.
What? She will rock my world here. I don't know what question she's asking him, but it's going to rock his world.
A couple of years ago, you met President Biden when he was vice president, and he said that he looked into your eyes and he didn't see a soul there, and you said, well, that means that we understand each other. Could you please say...
Explain to everyone here how you meant that he was right.
Did you look into his eyes, and what did you see here? Did you see a person that you can work with? And please...
I'm a big fan of the trolls that seem to be showing up in like YouTube and Facebook and stuff that are defending Trump during a press conference about Putin. If anything points out the fact that most of these folks are pro-Putin trolls that pretended to support Trump during his presidency just to inflate this stooge while Putin was pulling his strings, I don't think there's a better example of it than there. I mean, fairly hilarious. So, it's good stuff.
Please tell me, has President Biden invited you to the White House? And if that is the case, did you agree to go there?
This lady is going to rock my world with a question that we put in on purpose.
Well, President Biden did not invite me, and I haven't made the relevant invitation myself. I believe that for such meetings and for such visits to happen, there should be conditions that should be ripe. As for looking to the eyes...
Yeah, that's what it is. He just wants to make sure it's right for him before Biden invites him, because he's not.
And seeing a soul or not seeing anything, it's not the first time that I hear that. To be honest,
I hear it all the time. Anytime I'm at the buffet, people, like I was there and this fisherman standing there and he was like a doll's eyes about me. And I was like, what does that even mean?
I don't remember such conversation, but I assume that it could have happened. If you
I suppose if someone wanted to pretend.
Ask me what kind of a person and interlocutor President Biden is, I can say that he is a constructive person, well-balanced and experienced, seasoned politician, and I expected that. He recalled his family.
Sorry, it's very hard for me to talk about families since I came from a dragon's egg.
And conversations he had with his mother. Well, these things don't have directly something to do with our business, but nevertheless, it shows his qualities and his moral values. It is all appealing, and I believe that we spoke with the same language. it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to look into the eyes and see the soul and
Because what really is a soul?
to pledge eternal love. We defend the national interests of our countries, and this relationship are always based on pragmatism.
Yes, pragmatically, who needs a soul, really? I mean, on the practical level.
Andrei, please, you have the floor. Andrei Kolesnikov, Kommersant newspaper. Mr. President, following this meeting, did you have any illusions, any new illusions? Well, I didn't have any old illusions, let alone new ones. There have been no illusions whatsoever.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we cleared that up. What?
Let's move to this side. At the back of the hall, please give the mic, and the lady will decide for herself. Good day, Pavel Rybnyov, Zvezda TV channel. Mr. President, I have two questions, if I may.
Please don't shoot.
Regarding global climate change, have you discussed this with President Biden? And the second question regarding American media outlets. Recently, you gave a big interview to the NBC channel. Is it fair that you give an interview to American media outlets, whereas American presidents do not give any interviews to our media outlets? And
Yeah, I mean, it's not because, like, ABC, for example, has, like, his stations all over the world and has a reach of hundreds of millions of people and sort of a guarantee of quality. Why can't they show up for our podcast level productions in some shithole and, a studio office in either on the west side of New York or something like that? So we'll rent something. But, why don't they come and do interviews with it? Why doesn't the president do local interviews?
And do you see a positive impact of this interview if your words are always distorted and if you are treated not in a very respectable way? Well, with regard to distortions and some misinterpretations, well, that is the practice of international relations here, and there is nothing to do about it here. I got accustomed to this. We've been living with it for decades.
Fake news being what it is. Don't forget to give a like and a thumbs up. If you hate the show, don't forget to give a thumbs down and leave some sort of comment, because it inflates us in the algorithm and helps us out. Because all of these platforms we're on, from Twitch to Facebook to YouTube or Twitter, they don't care whether you like me or not. They just want your eyeballs here. So thanks for sticking around. I'm talking to the trolls right now, just for the record.
As for the interviews and who gives these interviews, that's up to the leaders to decide. If he wants to send a message to the people, we try to
We really appreciate if you come in and let us edit for you.
do that, and that's exactly the essence of my interviews to the American media outlets. As for the
Because they are trustworthy, and no asshole would go on RT with half a brain.
activities
Unless it was me, because I tell them exactly what I want them to have me say,
of our media
whether I said it or not.
outlets, for instance, President Biden raised the issue on the work and on the work of Radio Freedom Europe that we declared as foreign agents. Well, I got an impression that members of the US delegation were not aware that before that, well, we actually have two media outlets that are broadcasting for foreign audience, that's RT and Sputnik. And before that, the US...
It's like the opposite. It's like Radio Free Europe, except without the Europe and the free part. It's basically the same thing, though.
declared them as foreign agents, and they deprived them of their accreditation. So what we did was retaliation, and at the same time, Russia Today abides by all requirements of the US regulator. It is registered in this way, although they face some problems with regards to hiring of personnel and financial transactions, but we don't. They don't.
Yeah, it's one, like we've been trying to find ways we could suck money out of the American market using front organizations like RT, and they put corks in all the holes. It's really a pain in the
have
ass,
such
man.
problems, but the U.S. Media outlets do not abide by the Russian law. We spread the word on our opinion, and we hope that we'll be able to work
Let me do one more question, and then we can bring out Lee Camp.
at the level of foreign ministries in this matter. Well, I actually wanted a lady to ask a question. Thanks a lot, Galina Polonska. Could you please speak up? Galina Polonska, Euronews.
Yeah, speak up. Greg Kelly can't hear you.
We all knew how you shook hands with Joe Biden at the very beginning. Have you managed to reach a new level of mutual understanding and confidence? Do you believe it is realistic at this stage to reach a new level of relationship that would be totally clear, transparent? That is the ultimate goal of two countries. Lev Tolstoy once said, there's no happiness in life, there's just a glimpse of happiness, and do cherish it. I believe that here they...
What? And by the way, they said specter in the other translation. There is no happiness in life, just the specter of happiness.
There can be no confidence and ultimate confidence, but I see that we've seen some glimpse of this confidence.
We don't have any there's no happiness in life, just glimpse of happiness. Like there is no confidence in life, there is only glimpse of confidence. I started out as motivational speaker for KGB.
Yes, please.
Yes, misery is natural state. That's why Russia is so successful. If you ever see a Russian's face, everyone is frowning and sort of afraid and stuff. And this is man that is most natural. Yes, there is not the abyss. You can only stare into the abyss.
I have a mic, but you want the second one. Oh, this one is not plugged in. Ivan Blagoy, first channel. COVID-19 is one of the key subjects here. Have you brought it up during your meeting with the US president? And
I have a question. So we've all had Sputnik vaccine, and besides the weird boils on our backs and buttocks and the inflation of our feet and the weird hacking noise that you make with your throat, when should we expect to be immune so we can not wear masks?
And if that is the case, what are the prospects of joint work with the US colleagues to overcome the pandemic? Maybe we could talk about mutual recognition of vaccines. Well, we brought this up, but just briefly, in passing. You know that in the times of the previous US administration, we accommodated the US request and we sent our equipment as part of humanitarian assistance.
Yeah, it was great.
It's not that they run out of money, it's just that at that point in time they were in dire need of ventilators. We have done it selflessly and we are ready to such kind of cooperation, but we haven't discussed this in detail. After the meeting with President Trump, relationship has deteriorated between our two countries. Are there any factors that would tell that this will not be the case today?
I don't know. I mean, what relationship? I mean, it's like, what really is the relationship between Charlie McCarthy and
the relationship?
We had kind of, Trump and I had sort of a Wayland Flowers and Madam kind of a relationship, you know?
Reached rock bottom.
I'm like the international Jeff Dunham, and he is a hot dog on a stick.
Well,
or whatever, pepper, or whatever that is.
I can say all the actions related to the deterioration of Russia-US relations were initiated by the US, not Russia. Congressmen are quite inventive, and I do not know what they will invent further on. Yes, please.
I'm almost done with this nonsense, by the way. How y'all doing, man? I'm glad to be here. Come on. Now, I got a couple questions about farm implements.
Alexander Gamov, Komsomolskaya Pravda. Did you know that our team has won, the Finnish team 1-0. Well, congratulations. If we take the same assessment,
It's a jalapeno? Okay, yeah.
same scale to the Putin-Biden meeting, what's the score? Who won? Okay, in the second part of the question, before coming to Geneva, Americans were saying, we're going to exert pressure on Putin. Have you felt this pressure, and how have you stood up to it? I think the entire Russia is now thinking how our president is doing up there. I think
Yeah, how is our president doing out there?
it's plenty. Yeah, I think so too, more than enough. No pressure at all. It was a frank and candid conversation without, without going on a tangent from the set agenda. Like I said,
A set agenda. So these questions are organized beforehand? Good to know.
neither us nor United States have tried to exert any pressure. But this was not the point of the meeting. And the score? Okay, the score. Well, I think before we met President Biden that this is not a competition event. And I fully dovetail with him. Are we going to really set the score? This was a productive meeting. It was fruitful. It was
fruitful of a country that has a $27 trillion economy, and we've got like we're a little bit less than California, like one of their states. And if they didn't need us for space travel, they'd forget we existed for decades at a time.
to the point.
So it was really good.
And it took place in an atmosphere that was actually enabling to create, to achieve, to accomplish something. And the most important thing is the glimpses of confidence and hope that we had.
Yes, glimpses, because that's all you have in life.
BBC News, please.
Antonin, I've got a question
Mr.
for you, if I
President.
might.
Joe Biden calls for a stable and predictable relationship with Russia. However, the West believes that unpredictability is an inherent trait of the Russian policy. Are you ready to forego instability in order to improve the relationship with the West? Well, quite a compilator. It was difficult to follow the logic. I'm really envious. I mean, it's like a contradiction of terms. You said the West believes, and then the second part, are you ready to forego this? Well, if the West believes this, that doesn't mean that this is the objective truth. So let me address your question in parts to dissect
Great.
it. You
Very
said that
exciting.
the West believes that Russian policy is unpredictable. Well, let me reciprocate. The U.S.
And say, have you seen who the president was the last 4 years?
withdrawal from the ABM treaty in 2002 was unpredictable. Why would they do that and disrupt and undermine the basis
In 2002? Because you weren't participating in it?
of the strategic stability? Then the INF treaty withdrawal in 2019. Is that what you call stability? The open sky.
So Bush and Trump. So Republican policy is unpredictable and a pain in the ass. But okay, there we go.
Agreement withdrawal. But is that what you call stability? There's almost
No, again, last 4 years
nothing to almost
as an anomaly.
no legs to stand upon. Well, thankfully, the START treaty was saved, and I'm grateful that President Biden has made a wise decision to extend the New START treaty for 5 years. Now, take the situation in and around Ukraine, the Crimea. This was where it all started, right? Okay, let me.
Yeah, so we had a treaty, and we stopped participating in the treaty, but we didn't invade Russia. The Russians invaded Crimea. That would, I mean, on the scale of surprise activities,
Let me plant a question. What was stable about supporting
Mr. Putin, where are you keeping Melania?
and
She has been called home for deprogramming. We have to debrief her, and then she needs, of course, a good cleaning before we, peel her skin off and replace it with a new one. She's one of our highest level bots, and she really did good work.
a coup d'etat, an uprising in Ukraine? I mean, the President Yanukovych was ready to announce new elections. He agreed with all the demands. No, it wouldn't work. You'd have to go with the coup, the ramifications that followed, the Crimea, the east of Ukraine. And you're saying that we are seeking the instability?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think so. In my mind,
You materially attack the country.
we see it differently. We don't think in these terms. We think that we are trying to create stability, but for the situation.
Yes, and we really only have a stable Russia if we have all of our territories back.
To be stable, we need an agreed set rules of
Melania is with Mary Miskovich.
conduct across all areas: the strategic stability, the cybersecurity, the regional conflicts. I think that we can agree on these things, and I have an impression that we can agree.
Might be the last question,
Let us
I think.
draw this to wrap it up. I'm sorry, can't hear. Speak to the mic, please. To the mic, please.
Yeah, who do you think I am? Greg Kelly? I don't have ears like that.
What? Blue Fog, the popular tunes? Let's do something, speak something intelligible and reasonable. Bloomberg, please. And we'll wrap it up then. Final question to the lady.
It's not the lady.
Bloomberg News, Ilya Arkyvov. In 2016, after you met Trump, a new set of American sanctions was quickly imposed. What about this round of negotiations? Have you got any assurances that there will be no new sanctions in the near term coming from the United States? And then you said about the glimpses of hope. Do you have any ideas on how feasible it is to expect that President Biden would be able to deliver, to follow through on the promises? I mean, it's believed that the American political apparatus is actually showing more solidarity with President Biden than it showed during President Trump's presidency. So, all right, you've agreed on consultations on cybersecurity, on Ukraine. Do you think there will be any working groups established? Do you think any red lines will be respected? Can you describe something? I think I've spoke about the red lines at length. You see, the understanding and confidence in this is created. It stems from negotiations. There's no reason to meet each other and threaten and to exchange, trade, verbal attacks. That's not the point. The restrictions, the sanctions, is something I've brought up already. We don't know what's brewing in the American political apparatus.
We just know what we're going to do and how they'll probably respond.
I mean, we know the broad strokes, the currents, but we don't know the details. There are probably opponents and proponents of developing better relations with Russia. Who will prevail? It's difficult to say. Hope.
It is hard to find the most gullible American Republican, but we feel like Ron Johnson is really he's the guy we're teeing up for next time.
Steps will be taken.
What does America need from Russia? Excellent question.
After this summit. Well, hopefully, one might think so, but it would only mean a missed opportunity if it happens. And the final question to a journalist from Canada.
She says that I have a question from my 9-year-old. Like, why is this summit important, and why don't you let people protest in your country? Was the question that he gets with. He's like, all right, gone.
Раз, два, три, четыре. Есть перевод? Русский. Русский перевод. Русский перевод.
I can't hear her in Russian. I can't. Can somebody feed what she said to me in my ear? And then they're reading it to him in their ear, and then he starts responding.
Раз, два, три, четыре, пять.
I didn't really hear it, this uncomfortable BS question. This one's not working, so give me a really, yeah. This is fine Russian technology. I don't know if you know this, but our translation devices are some of the best in the world. You only need 3 of them for one press conference. Russian batteries are amazing. Mm-hmm. He may speak English. Doesn't mean he understands it, if you know what I mean. But that was the question that she was asking. This dude is totally checking his likes now. Thanks, Jay. Why don't you? Yeah, her 9-year-old asks why you can't protest in his country, and why is the summit even important? Which is a good question.
Well, it's a great thing that your 9-year-old is actually interested in these things, and the answer is pretty simple. You've got to look
We need the money.
around and just see, think to yourself, it's a wonderful world.
That's right. I mean, this is my. What is he gonna? And I think to myself, it's a wonderful world. If you look around, say trees of green, clouds of white.
I mean, the grown-ups, these adults, leaders of 2 major countries, 2
Well, one major country.
major nuclear countries are meeting
Yeah, definitely 2 major nuclear countries, not 2 major countries, though.
to try to make this world a safer place, a secure place, a prospering place to live for many people from across the globe. They will discuss the stuff about the horrible weapons that can kill us all, that has to be
Yes, tell your 9-year-old about the horrible weapons that can kill us all.
somehow prevented from. They will discuss nature,
Yes, pretty flowers and things.
how to make rivers clean, how to make seas clean, how to stop floods and droughts, how to make sure everybody has plenty of food to eat for anyone in the globe.
That's what Russia's always been about.
What else will they discuss? They will discuss health and medicine so that when kids grow up, they will be healthy.
So that they can experience their misery fully.
They can
Jesus.
study and have a bright future. And I wish
Yes, I wish every child could be well fed, have plenty of medicine so they could live a long and miserable life.
very much. So this meeting will be covered with these ideas in mind.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to leave on a high note. I think I really killed him with the whole like flowers part. This is the and that's it. Look at that. Look at all the Russian media folks rushing out when they're done. Like just hitting it. All the Americans and everybody else are like, all right, we'll do our little piece here and whatever. The rest of them are like, did I do okay? Did I do okay? Am I okay? Did I do okay? Oh, God. That was dull.